Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I would love to talk about the Caitlin Mattisson Tarot today. This deck does not get nearly as much love and postings as it needs to. It's amazing. So let's get right into it. I'm not going to do a full walkthrough on this one because someone's already done that on YouTube. And that's what I actually use that to decide, like to look at all of the cards and like see, like, is this deck going to be for me? Yes, this deck is for me. So what I want to talk about is how fantastic this deck is, frankly. It's a large format deck. It is bigger than a standard size tarot deck. And I can show you, I have my Dirt Gems deck here because I'm actually about to talk about the Dirt Gems next after I'm finished with this video. But this is, the Dirt Gems is a standard size tarot deck. So as you can see, the Caitlin Mattisson Tarot is a large format tarot deck. I think it's either 5 3/4 or it might even be a full 6-inch, long deck. So it's a, larger size deck than I normally like to work with my tiny hands. However, it's so lovely that I think it's worth a discussion. So it comes in this really beautifully printed tuck box featuring some of the, this is the back, this is the illustration for the back of the deck, and this is the star card. I like tuck boxes. I know a lot of people don't like tuck boxes, but I do. So this is fine for me. It does not come with any type of a book, but it is, from what I've been able to tell, it's fairly Rider-Waite based. I'm gonna go ahead and say. So I haven't had any, problems reading with this deck. If I had a wish, it would be that the deck was a little bit smaller. I know that you then lose some detail in the art, but I can't shuffle this deck. I can't shuffle this deck, the normal way. Like I can fit about that many cards in my hand. I just don't have the reach to be able to do that. But what I can do is I can shuffle it sideways, and that's how I do it. I take it like this, and the cards bend enough that I can give it a shuffle on the long edge instead of the short edge, and then put it together and go. I don't know where this deck was printed, but to me it feels very much like a really nice, like a Make Playing Cards type of stock. I have Make Playing Cards printed decks that remind me of this stock. It's very flexible card stock, but to me it doesn't feel particularly flimsy. The card stock is, if it is something similar to what I'm thinking, it's, durable. I haven't had any problems with it. And it has a, what I would call like a standard finish. It's not a high gloss, but it's also not matte. And what I love so much about, so many things I love about this deck, but the artwork to me is extremely unique and interesting, and just, it's just jaw-droppingly beautiful. I've been using this deck for some of my daily readings. This to me looks just like Delirium from the Sandman comics. And there are some cards throughout this deck that kind of look like people or scenes or things that I recognize. But if this is not a Delirium vibe, I do not know what is. It's lovely. And the other interesting thing about this deck is that on the minor cards, I don't think it's on the majors, but on the minor cards, you have these kind of symbols that correspond to the suit. So we've got wands, you got some fire up here. And I do think that this is a deck that would have been nice to maybe have a little book that came with it, because I'd be very interested to hear the artist's, kind of thoughts on the cards, the symbolism, and talk a little bit more about what's going on up here. This was originally a black and white deck that came out, I don't even know how long ago. And I believe it was back in December of 2021 that this was released as a color version. And I mean, as far as color goes, this is stunning. If you can see just the depth of color in the backs of the cards. You have this beautiful like snake illustration. It is truly, beautifully illustrated and beautifully colored. The deck features mostly women. So I like it. Like, to me, it's a really pretty feminine deck. And this artwork, it almost reminds me, maybe my mind goes there because a couple of the cards do remind me of like the Sandman characters, but it looks to me like this really lovely kind of comic book kind of art, like artwork that I love from some of my favorite comic books. So it also has kind of like a poster style feel to the artwork, I think. I really can't say enough good things about it. If I had my way, I would love to see it in a slightly smaller size, just because this would be a deck that I would put in my purse or my bag and take with me everywhere. But I just don't tend to do that with larger size decks. I just don't. It's just, I don't carry a large bag. This is the other card that's very delirium. To me, this has a very delirium from the Sandman vibe. I just think all of the figures are so beautifully drawn. The scenes are so beautifully drawn. It's got such a gorgeous, bright, vibrant colors. It's just, this one's just a hit for me. It is an expensive deck. This deck is $100 and then shipping on top of that. Obviously, that might put it out of some people's price range, which is unfortunate. However, if you can spring for it, I just don't think this deck would really be disappointing to anybody. It's absolutely exceeded my expectations. I will continue to keep this one in my rotation. I tend to reach for my brightly colored decks more in like spring and summer. I don't know why, it's just one of those things. And this one, can't say enough good things about it. So, like I said, I'm not going to go through every single card. There is a walkthrough, which I can link to in the description. I will link to to Caitlin Mattisson's Instagram and also her page where this can be purchased. I did have a little bit of a hard time when I was just doing a Google search for this. I had a hard time actually finding the link to the shop to buy it. Took a little bit of doing. I don't know why it wasn't coming up for me, but to make it easy, I will link that in the description. If you have any, it's going to be hard to lay a bunch of these out because they're large, but if you have any questions or, comments, what have you, you can leave them for me below. And I appreciate you dropping by. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.